In 6th century South India, the Chalukyas and the Pallavas emerged as rival empires, both commanding immense wealth and maintaining heavily militarized borders. Their territories converged at the right shore Doab, a fertile wedge trapped between the Krishna and Tungabhadra rivers. This valley was the peninsula's primary agricultural engine and housed critical coastal trade choke points. Neither empire could cede control without losing its economic edge. Geography made a collision between these two expanding powers inevitable. The only unknown was which king would strike first to break the stalemate. Pulakeshin II, the Chalukyan king, chose to initiate the conflict. He was a disciplined and military strategist who viewed the Pallavas as the final obstacle to his dominance over the south. He led a massive invasion force across the border, eventually meeting the Pallava army at the Battle of Pullalur. The Chalukyan victory was decisive, forcing the Pallava king, Mahendravarman I, into a desperate retreat. To immortalize the win, the Chalukyas commissioned the eye-hole inscription. These Sanskrit verses served as permanent state propaganda, detailing the king's triumphs. The inscription claims that Pulakeshin's forces drove the Pallava king to abandon the field and hide behind the defensive walls of Kanchipuram, his own capital. The Pallavas were stripped of their northern provinces and cornered within their own city, facing the reality that their empire was on the verge of collapse. Mahendravarman was succeeded by his son, Narasimhavarman I. He took the throne of a fractured kingdom while adopting the title Mahamalla, the Great Wrestler. He projected imperial stability through unprecedented engineering projects, ordering his architects to carve massive, intricate temples directly out of solid rock. In 642 CE, Pulakeshin II attempted a second strike against the Pallava capital. But this time, Narasimhavarman and his general, Paranjothi, moved to intercept the invasion. At the Battle of Manimangala, the Pallavas halted the Chalukyan advance. The fighting was characterized by heavy war elephants and massed infantry, resulting in the first major defeat for Pulakeshin's veterans. For Narasimhavarman, repelling the invasion was only the first step. He realized that to secure his kingdom's future, he had to dismantle the Chalukyan capital itself. Narasimhavarman launched a deep strike invasion of his own, marching his army hundreds of miles north, directly into the Chalukyan heartland. General Paranjothi led the forces toward Vatapi, a city widely considered to be a natural fortress that no southern army could hope to breach. The city was protected by sheer red sandstone cliffs, with fortifications integrated into the rock face to maximize the defensive advantage of the terrain. Paranjothi's army scaled the cliffs and forced a violent breach through the city gates. During the chaos of the siege, Pulakeshin II was killed. The king who had nearly ended the Pallava dynasty was now dead in his own capital. The Pallava army proceeded to sack and burn Vatapi, leaving the city in ruins as a message to any remaining Chalukyan loyalists. To celebrate the destruction of his rival, Narasimhavarman assumed the title Vatapi Kondan, the conqueror of Vatapi. With their king dead and their capital occupied, the Chalukyan Empire disintegrated into a collection of local viceroys. For the next 13 years, the central authority that had once threatened all of South India effectively ceased to exist. General Paranjothi returned to Kanchipuram with a vast caravan of war booty, physically stripping the wealth from the ruins of the Chalukyan state. One specific artifact held more value than gold, a stone sculpture of Lord Ganesha, taken directly from the walls of the Vatapi fort. Paranjothi enshrined this idol in his home village, where it became known as the Vatapi Ganapathi. Through this act, a symbol of Chalukyan protection was transformed into a trophy of Pallava worship. These objects of war were slowly recontextualized, serving as religious icons that eventually outlived the memory of the conflict that brought them south. Despite his victory, the violence required to take Vatapi left a deep impression on General Paranjothi. He had reached the pinnacle of military success, yet the sheer scale of the carnage led to a radical change. He renounced violence entirely. He abandoned his rank to become a wandering monk named Sirutondar. The man who had raised a capital spent the rest of his life as a Shaivite saint, eventually enshrined as one of the 63 Nayanars. The political struggle eventually resumed. The Chalukyas would later rebuild under Vikramaditya I and launch their own retaliatory strikes, continuing the cycle for another century. The borders these kings fought over were eventually redrawn by newer dynasties, but the rock-cut temples and the religious synthesis born from their rivalry became permanent fixtures of the landscape.